Welcome to This Just In with This Just In as your host, Justin Core. This is a show where we take a deeper dive into the stories most important to you with the people who bring you those stories. Our correspondent today is retiring Boise Parks and Rec director Doug Holloway. There he is. Doug, we should have done this in a park.
Why didn't we? Get you out of the office here. And
I couldn't get a hold of that darn PIO you got over there at Parks and Rec, Bonnie. She was like, no, we're going to put him in the studio. He's easier to control.
Yeah, we have 101 of those developed parks, so we could have found a place for you and I to do this show. But this is a nice little studio you got set up here.
It's very kind of you to say that. Probably too kind, yes. But appreciate that. I ask all of our first-time guests this. What would your entrance or your walk-up music be? Say, like, you're playing baseball or whatever, that music hits, or you're a pro wrestler, that music hits, you come out. What would people think, like, oh, that's Doug Holloway?
That's a great question. I would like to be manly enough to say it'd be something from AC/DC probably, like Trevor Hoffman from the San Diego Padres, who had, Hell's Bells was his walk-up song out of the bullpen. I would say mine would be Chicago, Saturday in the Park. Why, wouldn't that work? A little bit upbeat.
Nice.
70s music.
Perfect.
I'm a big 70s, 80s type of music, so that's my genre. So, yeah, I would say Saturday in the Park.
Fantastic. And
does that work?
Appropriate.
Actually?
It's on brand as well. Absolutely.
Okay, good.
I would absolutely know that. Hold on. Let me turn that down. You peek behind the curtain there. So I think this is the question I have all the time, and maybe a lot of people do. How accurate was the NBC TV show Parks and Rec?
You know, it's amazing. It actually is pretty accurate.
Oh, geez.
There's a lot
of Ron Swanson?
Yes, so I would be Ron Swanson, and Amy Poehler would be any number of superintendents that we have that report into the director's office. Yet not quite as crazy as that, but when you look at the engagement they would do in the public, right, when they would go out and they would do a master plan for a park, and you would hear the interaction the staff would have with, and particularly Amy Poehler, with the citizens in that town. It's a lot of that same type of stuff. You know, I mean, we have that same kind of interaction, and some of the funny stuff, there's a lot of funny stuff that happens in our department. We always say we should write a book at some point about all the weird, interesting things that occur, you know, in our day-to-day lives. But I would say there's definitely some similarities, and it's probably the one question I get most often is how accurate or are there similarities? And there are, yeah, no question.
Did you ever have a moment that you can reveal now that you're retiring where you're like, oh man, this is straight out of Parks and Rec?
That's got to stay. That's got to stay there. I will say something that was a favorite to some of our superintendents was we did an event out at Ice World, and there apparently was an event, and I saw a clip of the show where they walk out on the ice, and there's some music from Gloria's.
Estefan.
Yeah. So that scene, we actually did an event at Ice World, and we thought this is pretty ironic. It's kind of like the scene from
and nobody could stand up.
Right. Exactly.
And the song was "Get on Your Feet." So you see the irony there.
Yep. So, but otherwise, I think I'll keep everything else for that book that we're going to write one day.
Fantastic. Yeah. Don't give it away for free. Make people buy the book, for crying out loud. Okay. We'll get to how one becomes a park czar or the Boise Park King in a second, but first, Doug, how'd you fall in love with open spaces and recreation doing what you do?
Well, I'm a sports fanatic. In fact, if you talk to my wife, Linda, she always refers to me, you and your sports. And so I've loved sports my whole life, right? Okay. And so it just seemed appropriate. I wanted to get into like coaching. I wanted to be a teacher. Got my degree in physical education at Boise State University, but I never taught a day. I got a job, you know, fortunate enough at age 23 to be a director of Payette County Recreation District. And to me, that's sports.
You're getting ahead of me because you started your work at just 16 years old in Payette County. What were you doing then?
So what I did then is I moved, anything they told me to do at the end of the day, right?
Sounds about right.
When you're 16. I was so fortunate because I was delivering papers for the Idaho Statesman. That's what I did. I got up every morning at 5 o'clock, rain,
Snow,
oh my
sleet,
gosh,
yes.
heat.
Heat.
At 5, and I hated every minute of it. And I got this job at age 16 to coach a t-ball team for the Payette County Recreation District.
Nice.
Jake Howard, and hopefully he's listening to this. He was the director at the time, and I was his route carrier. And he had a job opening for a t-ball coach, and they were going to pay somebody $300 to do this job, which I would have done for free.
Not bad at all.
They couldn't get a parent to do it, and so he came to a baseball practice when I was playing baseball for Payette High School, and he was looking for this t-ball coach, and he said, "We'll pay you $300." And I went up to him afterwards, and I said, "Hey, I'll take that job." And he said, "Well, aren't you my," and I'm going to be maybe non-PC, "aren't you my paper boy?" Which we don't call them that now.
Right,
it's route
yeah.
carrier. Right? And I said, "Well, yeah." And he goes, "Well, if you coach this t-ball team half as good as you take care of my paper, you're hired." And he hired me, and I quit my job delivering papers, and he had me moving sprinkler pipes, lining baseball fields, you name it. And it just took off from there, and I had a full-time job now from age 16 through graduating from Boise State University, and eventually they offered me the job as director, and I never taught and took that job.
Well, you saw a shot of that paper there. We can go back to that.
Good-looking guy.
20, amazing. What in
Look
the
at
world
that guy.
happened, Doug? No, I'm just kidding. 20.
Well, yeah, the
22,
hair's a little different, but otherwise.
23. What can you tell me about this go-getter who's the Payette District's recreation director?
Well, just as I mentioned, I started delivering newspapers for the Statesman when I was 9 years old. I mean, think about, you have children. And would you send them out at 5 in the morning to deliver papers? Probably not. Not in today's world, but I would roll out of bed at 5 o'clock and go do that. And I think that built something in me that really gave me a motivation that that a lot of kids didn't have because of that responsibility. And not only did we have to deliver the paper, we had to go around in the evening and collect. So you didn't pay like automatic withdrawal out of your checking account. Kids had to go door to door to door and knock on the door and say, "I'm here to collect for the Idaho Statesman," and they had to pay you. And then you collect the money, pay for your newspapers, and whatever's left over, you got to keep as a profit. And so I think that taught me a lot in my younger days. Couldn't wait to get out of that job. But in the end, doing something, I don't think go-getter's the right term. It'd be more like doing something you love, right? I mean, immediately fell in love at age 16 with Parks and Recreation. And when I got the job as director, it just really springboarded me into something that would end up being just a fantastic career.
But you heard the siren song, as so many have before you, and since of the City of Trees of Boise, Idaho. We're going to talk about that and your transition to Boise next on This Just In. Welcome back to This Just In with retiring Parks Director for the City of Boise, Doug Holloway. Now, when last we left you, Doug, in our exciting story, you were directing the parks out in Payette County, then served on the Boise Parks and Rec Commission in the 90s. When exactly did that happen? How'd you get there?
Yeah, 1995. Interesting story. I had met Brent Coles, who was the mayor at the time, just briefly. I don't even know what event I met him at. But I actually was a judge for the Miss Boise scholarship pageant. I know this is really getting really weird for you, Justin,
like,
but
we know what this judge can do, direct parks.
Yes, that's right. And so actually he came down at the intermission when I was doing this scholarship pageant, and he said, "Hey, how's it going?" And I said, "Good." He said, "Hey, how would you like to serve on the Park and Recreation Commission? I have an opening." It was literally during this pageant. It was like at the intermission. And I said, "Sure, I'd love to do that." And It was literally a week later. I didn't even know what happened. I just got a note from his office that said, "Congratulations, you're now on the Park and Recreation Commission." That was in 1995. And so I served 4 years on the commission, 5 years to 99. Got to know the director at the time, which was Jim Hall. And when an opening came for the superintendent of recreation, he and I chatted about that, and he offered me the job, and did that for 11 years, and then became director in 2012, which is the dream job of anybody in the city of Boise.
Well, it kind of is. I've worked for the city of Boise for a while.
I know you did.
That was awesome. But also it's like, man, just to be over in the Parks and Rec department. Everybody loves you guys because everybody loves parks. That makes it sound easier than it is, though. What do you do? Or now that you're going to retire here in a month, but what do you do currently as Parks and Rec director?
Well, we have a department that's got a budget of about $55 million. So there's a challenge in managing our finances and that fiscal responsibility that goes with that. We have 185 full-time employees. We have 6 different divisions in the department that report into the director's office. And we have 240,000 plus constituents that are really your bosses at the end of the day. They're the taxpayers. And so if you put all that together, there's a pretty good responsibility that you have on a day-to-day basis. The accountability is very high, and it's not for everyone. At the end of the day. But it truly, from my roots in Payette County to today, it's been the greatest job in the country, for me, at least, as Doug Holloway.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that responsibility, because it's not like you're the parks director of like Toledo. No offense, Toledo, but maybe some offense.
That sounds horrible.
Known
at the end of the
known
day.
for their rubber plants. This is the city of trees, known for that parks department and that series of parks, as you said, more than 100, right? So, like, was there pressure there, being like, man, I really can't mess this up?
Oh, no question about it. I mean, you're tiptoeing, again, with that constituency you're working with. You have an internal responsibility with the employees that depend on this department doing a good job. So that's a big part of it. But the expectation of our citizens is huge, and we're okay with that. The bar continues to be raised on a daily basis on what we do in our department for the community. That quality of life piece that comes from a world-class park and recreation system, that has created an expectation. And again, we're okay with that. At some point, I'm not sure how much further the bar can continue to get raised, but our citizens
Good time for you to get out.
Our citizens tell us, it's a good point, Justin. Our citizens tell us, though, that we're doing a great job, and we want you to continue to do a great job. And what's the next coolest thing that you can do to continue to do a great job? And oh, by the way, we want to make sure you're taking care of the things that you already have. So it's a mix of a lot of different pieces there, Justin. But at the end of the day, really the expectation of our citizens is really high, and that's okay.
And there are high expectations there, but at the same time, when you tell people what you do, they're like, wow, playing in the park all day long.
Everybody says that, Justin.
Really?
They say that. They say, it must be just fun having your job, because your office is in a park and you've got kids playing, and play camps and after school programs and people out on the softball field playing softball. This sounds like a lot of fun. It really is, actually. At the end of the day, if you enjoy the things that Doug Holloway enjoys, which is sports and recreation and those kinds of things, and have my whole life, this is a great job to have when you're involved in seeing people have a great time and enjoy the things that you get to provide to them.
I talked to a few people about this, because there are people out there, probably the majority, honestly, of Americans who wake up every day and they're like, man, I don't want to go to work. I do not like my job. I don't like coming here. I actually love my job, and I understand how lucky I am that I found what I wanted to do and I get to do that. Do you feel sort of that same blessing, even though you're retiring now and it's time for that? But have you felt that blessing every day where it's like, man, getting up can be hard sometimes, but being able to do this is really awesome and rare?
No question. Yeah. I mean, I have empathy for those that roll out of bed and go, I got to go to work again today. And I get it. And even my own family, my children, they're like, how much longer do I have to work? Well, you're 25, Casey, so you're going to be working for a lot longer than,
4 decades or more.
So, yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think there sometimes is a little animosity from some people, like, really, you love it that much that you don't have a bad day? Of course we have bad days.
Sure.
But I certainly do look forward to getting out of bed and going to work. It's been, these last 24 years with the city of Boise have been amazing, and it's a great place to work, and I've enjoyed every bit of it. And will I miss it? No, because it's time to move on, right? I mean, at some point you're going to move on, and I've chosen that, and I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to the department continuing to make strides in meeting not only expectations of our citizens, but exceeding them far.
You talked about doing the next coolest thing and that expectation from the citizens. A number of years ago, the next coolest thing was Esther Simplot Park and the Boise Whitewater Park. We got some video of that. How did all of this thing come together? Really, an incredible whole. That's what it started looking like, and then wow, that.
Yeah, there's a great story behind this one too, and it actually ties to Idaho Ice World. So,
really?
J.R. Simplot owned Idaho Ice World, and it was part of his personal portfolio.
Okay.
And they were divesting a lot of his different assets as he got up in the years. And one of the assets was Ice World, and they approached the city and said, would you be willing to take Idaho Ice World? And we worked out a deal with them to where we paid $1 million for Ice World.
Okay.
And then the Simplot family turned around and donated that $1 million back to the city to be able to purchase the last little bit of land we needed to create Esther Simplot Park. And so part of that agreement was also that the J.R. Simplot Family Foundation would then build the park. So
Whoa.
Ice World kind of was the springboard to getting Esther Simplot Park built because of the $1 million transaction, and the family had a great idea. They wanted to name it after Esther,
Yeah.
and we were all for that. And then they built the park. It started in 2014 and was completed in 2016. It's probably a $12 to $14 million park at that time.
Yeah.
And so it's one of the greatest additions we have to that west end of Boise and certainly to the entire community. So thank you, Idaho Ice World. And now Idaho Ice World's doing a fantastic business out there. We're doing really, really well. So all of it has worked out great, both for the Simplot family as well as for their legacy as well as for the city of Boise.
Yeah. Well, and that whole area around there, we were talking about that, how much that has changed with the addition of that park. And you see...
You're welcome, Garden City, by the way.
That's right, yeah. You guys might just take Garden City here after a while. It's like, look at all we did for you. Is that the project that you're most proud of? So what you see there?
I would say probably yes, just because of what the impact it's had, not only just on Boise, and we joke about Garden City. We have a footbridge that connects both the communities, and so it's definitely transformed their side of the river.
Yeah.
And I would say, yeah, but some of the other things, like, even just little things like X Games, right?
Yeah.
We had 3 consecutive years of having X Games here that just was a global event that was shown all over the world.
Nice.
And really demonstrated what we have here with our skate parks and how we can pull an event off like that. That was really cool. Our scholarship program, where we don't turn any families or children away from any program or event in the city for lack of ability to pay. I'm very proud of that. When I came to work for the city, we had just a couple $1,000s in an account that we used to fund scholarships. We now have over $230,000 that we use. And so, that's 16, 17,000 scholarship activities a year, where, that very first year we had 244. That's not a number that, and that's a true number, and I'm very proud of that number. In that now we're demonstrating, we're walking the talk. This is a city for everyone, right? Yeah. And so, so those are things that probably, and then 101 developed parks. During my tenure as director, we did basically 2 a year. We had 25 different park sites that we opened up during that time. So all of that together, I'm not sure Esther is above everything, but because of its transformation in the West Boise and the work we went through, and I don't know if you recall the material that had to be removed out of a pond, and it was like, there was
a lot of cement out there. You had to get rid of.
it was heaven and earth you moved to be able to get that park built, and so that's part of it too. But anyway, great partnership with the family too as well.
Growth, an issue facing like every city leaders. Certainly there in Boise as well. I'd imagine that's been at the center of some of your challenges in development, but also making sure you make space for parks and open space.
Yeah, and that is always going to be a challenge, because Boise is the place to be. People want to live here. And part of the reason why they want to live here is because of our world-class park and recreation system, right? And so that quality of life, people are looking for that. They just don't need a high-paying job. They need quality education. They need quality health care. They need a clean city, a safe city, but they need a city that has recreational and open space opportunities. And so we're going to continue to see that. We have a plan. And that's the big key to managing growth, is what's your plan? What is it that you're doing to make sure that you are taking into account the growth that is occurring? And it's our 10-minute walk initiative. That is something that is very important to our community, and it's to have a park, open space, pathway or pathway connection within a 10-minute walk of every household within the city limits of Boise. And about 74% of those households right now are within that 10-minute walk, which means though 26% aren't. And so we still have work to do. And we've identified areas of town where we need to continue to address that. But as growth occurs, we collect impact fees, and those impact fees help take care of the growth that's occurring so we can add open space and we can add park space and we can add recreational program and things we need to do to continue to maintain the quality of life in parks and recreation that we have today, which maintains that growth.
Well, speaking of growth, you've overseen the last 2 clean water and open space levies. There's another one on the ballot this November. What would that do?
Well, if you see what the previous 2 have done, I think that we would continue that legacy with a third one. And what it has done is it has, I think we spent close to 19 million. We have about $1 million left in the 2015 levy.
Okay.
And so that's basically out of the 2 levies. They were both 10 million each. That's 20 million. So 19 million has been spent, and we have about 43 million in land acquisition that we've been able to create. So that right there should be an indication that we're great stewards of the funding that we're receiving. There's also projects that have been completed because of that. The Settlers Canal Path on Goddard across from Capitol High School was developed solely out of levy funding. The Peasley connection in Ann Morrison Park was developed out of that levy funding. So you can see what has occurred with previous levy funding, and I think that's what I would point to our citizens to say this is what we will continue to do. And we can't continue to build park space with just impact fees, which is what really drives our capital plan, because impact fees are generated from development, and in a lot of parts of our city there just isn't enough development going on in those planning areas that we can generate the income out of impact fees to be able to acquire more land and build more parks. So levy funding is another lever that the city can use to be able to accommodate that growth.
Just this week, as we're recording this, your replacement was announced, Sarah Arkle. I think we got a picture of her. What can you tell me about Sarah? The Leslie Knope.
Yes,
of
she
Boise.
is. That's a great point, Justin. She is. And she's an amazing talent, amazing leader. She is the first female director of Boise Parks and Recreation in our history. And having 3 daughters, I am very proud of that. And it's an honor for me to be able to step down as director and know that somebody that has worked with me very closely for the past 10 years. I hired her in 2015.
Nice.
I asked her to move from our foothills and open space division over to our park division. And I was hopeful that the experience she would be getting, that someday that she could fill those shoes of mine. And it worked out exactly how I think her and I had planned it. And she's going to do an amazing, amazing job. She understands Boise. She understands our department. And again, just very proud of her and proud of the fact that she'll be the next director.
All righty, Doug, thank you so much. Well, if you didn't know, Doug also helps a little bit run Zoo Boise for now. I'm going to help him name an animal. That's next on This Just In. Welcome back to This Just In with retiring Boise Parks and Rec Director Doug Holloway. Doug, Zoo Boise also in your purview a little bit, and you have a new female red panda there. We got a picture there. Here she is. Well, she'll come up in a second there. She doesn't, adorable. Doesn't have a name yet, so I have some suggestions.
Of course you do.
JustIN, huh?
Way to kick it off there.
Shifu, right? Like from Kung Fu Panda. Dougie.
I like that one.
Maybe your legacy. Maggie, just because every animal I know is named after my co-anchor, Maggie O'Mara. And also a raccoon we just painted red. Any of those sound good?
Dougie, yeah, I think that sounds good. I would go with Dougie, and then I would go with Maggie probably.
100%.
Yeah, as number 2.
I feel like I should explain that last one, though. Okay, one of my first assignments here at KTVB years ago was actually going out when I was a photojournalist, videographer, to get video of the very first red panda y'all had at Zoo Boise. I've been here a while. That sort of dates me. I showed up, and I was expecting, like, a giant panda, except like red and black, I guess, instead of white and black, a huge, 1-ton animal. And I show up and I'm like, okay, where is it? Trying to get some video. They're like, there it is. I'm like, oh, behind the fox or the raccoon you painted red. They're like, no, that's it. I'm like,
Yeah, welcome to the zoo,
I don't
Justin.
know, guys. Like, really, that felt a little Parks and Rec.
You didn't do any
TV there
research
for-
prior to
But
going out there to know what a red panda looks like?
I talk to experts. I know how to ask the
Okay,
right
all
questions
right.
of experts, which was, where's this red panda? So, by the way, your comms person, Bonnie Shelton, hates this story.
Yeah.
It's her least favorite. Level with me. Is that a raccoon or fox that you just painted red?
No, unfortunately,
No,
it's actually a red
unfortunately.
panda. It's a red panda, Justin. So,
Okay.
yeah, sorry about that. And they're cute as can be. And if
They're
you haven't
cute.
been over to our new exhibit, we just opened up a new red panda exhibit here a few months back. And so it's a great new addition to Zoo Boise. And we have some other exciting exhibits that are coming down the line as well.
So show up to Zoo Boise. There's also, I think you guys are going to have a raffle or an actual naming contest. You can try Dougie. Yeah. See if they pick it. Or
I think they already have. I think we already have the name in it.
never mind.
It wasn't Dougie, unfortunately, or
Bonnie?
Maggie. So tell Maggie sorry
Or
too. as
Bonnie.
well.
Justine, maybe? We'll see. I'll wait with bated breath and have disappointment. Hey, if you have a better name than that, or maybe you want to push for Dougie, text those to us, 208-321-5614. Use the hashtag JustIN. We may use that on the show. Doug Holloway, retiring Parks and Rec director. Really going to miss you, Doug.
Thanks, Justin.
There you go.
Appreciate it, Justin.